Have you ever heard something that makes you shiver? As if you're at a loss for words. You sit there for a minute, struggling to breathe while your eyes burn a little and your chest tightens. Man, that's what I experienced. One evening, I sat down and watched a clip that someone had emailed me when I was just scrolling. It says, "Steve, you gotta hear this." I had no idea what that was. I assumed it was simply another lecture, sermon, or religious video, you know? However, this individual then begins to speak, and everything around me fell silent. He was narrating a story about a Muslim woman who lost her child and how she dealt with it. "Lord, please be merciful. It's unlike anything I've ever heard." He said, "She came into the mosque after the funeral. People also anticipated that she would be devastated and fall apart. When they asked her how she was so strong, she calmly sat down and replied, 'I gave my child to the one who created him. He simply gave him to me on a temporary basis.'" Man, I felt a change in myself when she said that. You see, I've also lost individuals. I have visited graves. I've held hands with people who were sobbing so hard they were unable to speak. However, I have never heard such serenity in the midst of suffering. She wasn't numb, that woman. She wasn't chilly. She felt calm, and her religion was the source of that serenity. I came to the realization that death is not seen in Islam in the same manner as we do. It's not the end yet. It's a reunion, a comeback to the one who created you. And I'll tell you the truth. That struck me in a different way. Because like most of us, I've spent my entire life avoiding death and try not to think about it. Because we are afraid of the silence that follows. We hide behind work, jokes, and money. However, Islam views it with honor, confidence, and a kind of surrender that doesn't feel weak, but rather wise. I continued to listen as the man continued to speak. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam once stood by a grave and wept, he stated. His beard became wet from the tears he shed. His words to his friends were, "My brothers, it is for this that I weep for what comes after this." That sympathy, I thought at that moment. Leadership is that. He shed tears without holding them back. "Be strong," he did not say. "Remember," he said. He was telling them that life is short. Thus, live it with meaning. I put the video on hold. I was immobile. "Baby, you okay?" my wife asked as she entered. "No, I just heard something," I said. I was shaken by it. Man, I was crying. It was accurate. Not because it was depressing. The one thing that unites all of the souls on this planet is death. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Christian, or Muslim. We will all meet it. But there is no fear in the way this religion, Islam, handles things. It's a state of acceptance. As if to say, "I'm going back home." That's what truly broke me on the inside. The woman said, "I gave my child back to the one who created him." That's not hopelessness. Devotion is that. It dawned on me then that there is a power in submission, a peace that only arises when you know who is truly in control. And to tell the truth, I began to delve farther that evening. I wanted to know. I was curious as to what makes people feel so at ease after heartbreak. At that point, I went down a rabbit hole and learned the truth about Islam's views on death, life, and the afterlife. And I'll tell you what I discovered. I was forever altered by that. I couldn't get it out of me after that night, you know? Like an echo, that story and that woman's tranquility followed me everywhere. I so began to read and watch more. And let me tell you something, guy. Islam's approach to dying is unlike anything I've ever heard. You see, we flee death in this world. We avoid it, battle it, and deny it. We try to tell God, "Hold on," while purchasing vitamins, gym memberships, and wrinkle cream. I'm not yet ready. However, death is nothing new in Islam. It is a component of the plan. Life is not interrupted by it. It is its fullness. Listen to this now. Every soul shall taste death, not face death, according to the Quran. Taste it. Man, that's powerful, I thought. You taste something, and it's not permanent. It goes by. It's an encounter. Therefore, death is not the end. It's a transitional moment, a doorway. And that completely altered my viewpoint. You see, I used to believe that death signified the end. You've left. Life goes on, even though many cry. However, Islam asserts that this life is only the beginning. This is your trial run. What happens next? The real show is that And that caused me to reflect on all the occasions I became preoccupied with trivial matters, ignoring that one day and arguing over money, celebrity, pride, and ego. That won't matter since you can't say, "Hold up, let me finish this email," when the angel comes to take your soul. You must leave, and what you accomplished is the only thing that follows you, who you were and how you interacted with others. Additionally, that is the aspect of Islam that truly touched me. You see, Muslims believe in more than just the hereafter. They act as though it's real. They pray as though they will respond to every word. They give as if they will see it again in the afterlife. As if God were watching, they extend forgiveness. Man, what a powerful way to live. Because you stop being afraid to be decent once you realize that death isn't the end. You get over your fear of letting go. Another thing struck me quite hard. Islam does not view death as a form of punishment. It's not like God is angry with you because you died. No, the call simply arrived. Your allotted time was up. Death is compared as a friendly friend who comes to bring you home for those who live a decent life. It is said that the angel of death does not appear to harm believers. He arrives with words of consolation and tranquility. Do not be scared. Don't be depressed. You are returning to your Lord. My eyes welled up again when I read it, man. Because that isn't fear. Faith is that. I began to reflect about all the funerals I had attended. Have you ever noticed our treatment of them? We mutter. We weep. We are depressed. Muslims, however, pray. They pray quietly. They join together in prayer. They don't discuss the reasons behind God's actions. We belong to Him, they say, and we return to Him. That's closure, man. Acceptance is that. It's comparable to saying, "Lord, you gave this person to us, and now you took them back, and we trust you." You are aware of how difficult it is to truly say that while in agony. I don't believe I've ever witnessed such a degree of faith. Allow me to share one more thing with you. The Prophet Muhammad didn't merely discuss the afterlife in a mysterious way. He explained it. You could feel it because of how clearly he painted it. The first stop of the hereafter is the grave, he remarked. If it benefits you now, it will benefit you later. It's a warning indication if things are difficult for you there. That alone prompted me to examine my own life. Man, I wondered, would I be prepared to face my grave if I passed away tonight? Would I be proud of the way I interacted with others, how I used my position, and how I handled individuals when no one was looking? That's when it dawned on me. Despite losing her child, that mom told God, I gave him back to God. Because she was painless, she lacked strength. Because she recognized death, she was resilient. She looked beyond it. She was aware that her child was still there, simply waiting. And death no longer seems so harsh when you consider it that way. It's only a portion of the journey back. That is the practice of Islam. It teaches you how to depart as well as how to live. It gets you ready to face your Creator with a clear conscience, a pure heart, and a grin that says, I did my best. Man, that's profound. That is really profound. I'll tell you what, as I learned more, I started crying more, not because it was depressing, but because it was lovely. To understand that mercy exists even in death. Peace exists even in the afterlife. The soul continues to exist after the death of the body, standing in front of the Creator. I didn't realize I needed that comfort. At that point, I began to think that perhaps death isn't the most terrifying thing after all. Perhaps it's living aimlessly. Perhaps it is to die without peace. It's also possible that Islam teaches how to live rather than how to die, so that you won't be scared to return home when the time comes. You know, I sat on my porch when I got home that evening. Just myself and the crickets, no lights, no music, no phone. And I didn't ask God why for the first time in a long time. I simply said, thank you. I finally grasped the question, not because I knew all the solutions. You see, after you've truly seen life, you begin to realize how brittle everything is. People are lost. You see dreams come to an end. Bad people succeed while good people suffer. What's the lesson here, Lord? You ask yourself as you sit there. Islam struck me in a different way at that point. Every soul will experience death, it stated. But those who believe and act morally have nothing to fear. Nothing. Therefore, death is not a kind of retribution. Graduation is taking place. It's going from this makeshift test facility to the actual house. Man, I started crying at that point because I was thinking about my mother. Bernie Mac was on my mind. I considered those I loved who were no longer with me, and I saw that they had not vanished. They simply proceeded. They travel a path that I haven't yet arrived at, but I will if God permits. And I want to follow in my sister's footsteps when the time comes, with serenity, faith, and trust that my Creator has me. One quote from a Muslim cleric comes to mind. "Death doesn't end your story," he remarked. "It is the start of your eternity." That's all there is to it, man. I had to pause the video when he stated that. You spend your entire life cultivating this reputation, this success, this image, and then it's all gone with a single breath. And what you send ahead is all that's left. We believe that your patience, generosity, prayers, and kindness are inconsequential. In the afterlife, that is the actual currency. Islam tells us that if we leave good deeds behind, they continue after death. For example, teaching someone something that helps them, giving to charities that continue to help people, or raising kids who pray for you after you're gone. That's a whole new meaning of legacy, I thought. Having your name on a billboard isn't enough. It has to do with someone whispering your name in their prayer. And that changed the way I saw my life. All of this, the performances, the giggles, the celebrity, is lovely, but it's borrowed. I once believed that living large was the aim. I now believe that leaving clean is the aim. Because that angel doesn't care how many followers you have when he appears. No matter how nice your car was, he doesn't care. Did you fulfill your purpose? He will ask. Remember the person who sent you? And there will be serenity if you can answer, yes. But you know what truly startled me? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is credited as saying, "Remember often the destroyer of pleasures, death." I initially thought, man, that's heavy. But then it made sense. He didn't say anything to depress you. To show you his appreciation, he said that. Because you begin to value life when you think about death. You tighten your grip on your wife. You give your children call back. You forgive someone you've been angry with for 10 years. I love you without waiting for the right moment. You declare. You begin to live intentionally rather than automatically. And Islam did just that to me. It reminded me once again, conscious of the passing of time, conscious of mercy, conscious of the fragility, value, and transience of earthly life. Since success without peace is agony, I shifted my prayers from for success to for peace. But the true gift is tranquility. I used to joke that I'm afraid of dying, you know. I now understand that I'm not afraid of death. I fear that if I die, I won't have lived a decent life, loved others, forgiven others, or given thanks to the person who gave me this life in the first place. Man, that tale of the mom who stated, Alhamdulillah, that ain't weakness after losing her baby. That is the most robust form of faith. God, I don't understand you right now, but I still trust you is a statement of faith. And you've already won if you can accomplish that during the darkest moment. Steve Harvey did, in fact, cry that evening. The narrative reminded me of what faith truly looks like, not because it was depressing. It's not fancy. It's not noisy. Preaching it is not the point. It's about living it modestly and softly, knowing that you will eventually stand in front of the person who loved you the most. And I don't want to feel scared on that day. I wish to be prepared. Lord, I stumbled. I was about to say, I made a mistake. However, I never give up. I will always be grateful, and I will always have faith in you. Death isn't a tragedy, if I may say that. A homecoming is taking place. I learned something about death from Islam. That coming back is more important than losing. And for the first time in my life, I'm no longer afraid of that thought. It gives me comfort. I now realize that perhaps postponing death isn't the way to find peace. Perhaps serenity comes from realizing what it truly means.